The screencast is about a case called United States v. O'Brien, and it serves a few functions. One, it's a tutorial on the flowchart, the way I want you to think about it when you do answers, i.e. on the midterm and final exam. So I'm going to show you exactly what you need to include in order to get full credit. It also serves as a lesson read the fallibility of the Supreme Court. Another way to look at it is it's actually a great case to look at how you can take different avenues and still get 100% on your answers, because while I'm giving you the tools of the flowchart, there is a lot of subjectivity in how you apply it. And finally, this is just to teach you about an important First Amendment precedent. And while we're here, just want to give you a tip. If you actually open your workbook to those 2 pages where I've listed all the cases that we go over in this class, they're at the front of the workbook, part 1 and part 2. If you type it out exactly the way that I've typed it out, you'll never miss those questions. Just a tip. And I want to start with a quick review of the flowchart itself. I think I've said this before, but if you're just doodling or something watching TV, just practice writing the flowchart out. I know that sounds crazy. And in general, I've said before that this class is not about rote memorization. But the flowchart, I think that's the one thing that you should memorize. When you write stuff by hand, it makes a really strong memory imprint. If you just draw out the flowchart a whole bunch of times while you're watching a movie or binging on a TV series, it will help you in this class. Oh, and one more thing I want to point out while I'm here. Write out content-neutral TPM for yourself. In other words, you should not stop at that box and do relaxed scrutiny analysis unless it's a content-neutral TPM. There are such things as content-based TPMs, and you shouldn't do an analysis there. So sometimes I'll say TPM for short, but TPM always goes with content-neutral. Those two things are packaged together. For example, in Ward v. Rock Against Racism, if New York City had created that use policy guideline, but there was actually an indication that it really was trying to target anti-racist rock music or something, in other words, it was content-based, you would not stop and do a relaxed scrutiny analysis. You would keep on going up to the top. So when you do this, when you practice drawing out the flowchart while you're watching TV, include content-neutral TPM. It's going to reinforce that concept for you, and understanding this is more important than anything else in this class, in terms of getting the whole point of this class and also in terms of your grade. To understand the O'Brien case, we need to look really closely at the second box. And I've told you that state action and targeting expression are usually easy answers. You don't want to forget them, especially because on both the midterm and final, I will give you questions where there's no state action because it's a private entity restricting speech instead of the state. They're usually pretty easy. O'Brien does something fairly complicated, however, to the second question, targeting expression. So I want to talk a little more about that box right there. Now, in the United States, we have tons of laws that restrict conduct. Laws that will get you in trouble if you engage in murder, stealing, not wearing a seatbelt, jaywalking, committing fraud, chewing with your mouth. Okay, we don't have any of those, but I really can't stand it. Like, it's a total deal breaker for me. Having sex, we don't have laws. Actually, we did have laws against having sex. A ton of states had anti-sodomy laws on their books for decades and decades. Destruction of various things, burning shit, vandalizing property, going camping. Okay, well, there are camping restrictions, as you know. You live in California. Gambling, selling drugs, raping, being naked in public, yes. It is not just a choice that we have all made in consensus. There are actually laws that say that you cannot be naked in public. Threatening people, assaulting people. If you see a law that is pretty much about these verbs, you're looking at a conduct law. And since it's not targeting expression, you're not going to get very far in the flowchart before you dismiss it. First Amendment does not apply. If you see laws with these kind of verbs in them, little lights should go off in your head. Because if these verbs are being restricted, you are looking at a law that is explicitly restricting expression. Broadcast, publish, write, yell. Okay, I've never seen a law that actually restricts yelling, but whatever. Speaking, sculpting. See how I like to go into the gerunds? Painting, advertising, expressing symbolically. This is a huge one. Posting a blog entry, selling a newspaper. Note, selling a newspaper, selling a magazine. Selling expression counts, by the way, guys, as expression. And this is foreshadowing for one of your scenarios. Printing a magazine, handing out flyers, dancing, emailing, lying. So if you see a law that's restricting any of this stuff, then you're going to say yes to that question. You're going to say, yes, it is targeting expression, and go up. Now, obviously, for the most part in this class, we're just going to be talking about those laws, the laws that target expression. But there are times where you can have a law that doesn't explicitly target expression, but somehow ends up restricting expression. So being naked in public, the court has actually formally said being naked in public is conduct. But what if you like to dance naked because you are a stripper, also known as an exotic dancer? You can have a conduct law that ends up restricting speech. Or a law that says you can't destroy something. A law that says you can't burn stuff. Now, if you have a law that says you can't have campfires during this season in Southern California because, we'd like to avoid having the whole state be burned down, vandalizing property, going camping. You look at them, they're clearly conduct laws, right? Except that it is possible to do these things, to destroy something or burn something or vandalize something or even go camping symbolically as a way to express something. So when the government uses a conduct law to restrict or punish expression, what do? United States v. O'Brien gives us the answer to that question. It tells us what to do on the flowchart when that happens. What you see right there, destroy, burn, vandalize, go camping, be naked in public, we'll see cases where this has happened for all of those. And the first of those, the one that created the answer to this quandary, was U.S. v. O'Brien.